Maya was at the airport around 1 a.m., clutching her husband's wallet like it was his passport, and his heartbeat rolled into one. The rideshare driver pulled into a darker corner of the drop-off lane instead of the bright main entrance, and before she could even ask why, he hit the locks. "Don't get out here," he said, voice tight. "Just trust me." She stared at him, frozen. "Why?" His hands trembled on the wheel. "You'll understand in 5 minutes, and if you don't listen, you might not walk away." Before we get into what happened next, tell me in the comments where you're watching from, and if you like stories with twists like this, hit like and subscribe so the channel can keep growing. Now back to that night. At 12:15 a.m., the house felt too big, too quiet, the kind of silence that makes every shadow look guilty. Maya had just finished tidying Ethan's cluttered desk after his frantic last-minute business trip announcement. He'd left an hour earlier, claiming a construction emergency at a new branch project out of state, swearing he had to catch the earliest flight. Maya didn't argue. In 3 years of marriage, Ethan had been the picture of dependable, polite, hardworking, affectionate. She had no reason to doubt him. Then she saw it. A black leather wallet half buried under papers near the corner of the desk. Her stomach dropped as she recognized it instantly. Ethan's ID was inside, his main credit cards, cash, everything. Panic hit like a wave. How could he fly without it? No ID, no boarding pass, no money, no backup. Maya called him again and again. It rang. No answer. She sent a message, one gray check mark, no reply. She glanced at the clock. 12:20. His flight was at 2 a.m. If she left now, she could still make it. Maya couldn't drive at night. Headlights blurred into painful starbursts and turned the road into a guessing game, so she opened the rideshare app with shaking fingers. A driver accepted within minutes. Harris, in a black sedan, nearby. She pulled on a thick jacket and wrapped her headscarf quickly, hands clumsy with fear and urgency. The wallet felt heavy in her palm, as if it carried more than cards and cash, like it carried the fragile stability of her marriage. 5 minutes later, the sedan stopped at her gate. Maya locked her front door behind her and slid into the back seat, chilled instantly by the air conditioning. Mr. Harris looked to be in his late 50s, with silver at his temples and a face carved into calm. He didn't do the usual small talk, just nodded as Maya apologized for the late request and explained she needed the domestic departures terminal. The car pulled away from the quiet upscale neighborhood, swallowing the streetlights as the highway opened into long, empty stretches. Maya stared at her phone, hoping Ethan would call back. Nothing. She tried to steady her breathing, but something about the driver felt off. He checked the rearview mirror too often, meeting her eyes for a split second and then looking away like he'd been burned. Her mind betrayed her with every headline she'd ever read about nighttime rides gone wrong. A woman alone, a stranger in the front seat, a road with no witnesses. Maya pressed the wallet and her purse to her chest and whispered prayers under her breath, trying to force her fear into silence. Maybe he was just tired. Maybe he was just cautious. She tried to look out the window, but the darkness outside felt thick, and the driver's careful lane changes, too careful, like he was avoiding something that wasn't there, made her pulse race harder. After what felt like forever, the airport's lights appeared ahead, bright and sterile against the night. Relief loosened Maya's shoulders. Her phone read 1 a.m. She imagined Ethan waiting at check-in, frantic, and pictured the grateful smile he'd give her when she handed him his wallet. The sedan turned toward departures, but instead of stopping at the bustling main curb, Mr. Harris continued slowly to the far end of the drop-off zone, where several overhead lights were out, and the sidewalk fell into patches of shadow. Maya frowned, leaning forward. "Sir, you can stop up there." Her voice died when she caught his face in the mirror. He was sweating, not the shiny sweat of a warm car, but the pale, cold kind that comes with dread. His jaw was clenched. He parked near a thick concrete pillar that separated the public curb from a VIP parking entrance. Outside, the air looked empty. No luggage carts, no families, no security guard in sight. Just wind and the distant hum of the terminal. Maya's instinct screamed. She reached for the door handle, and the door didn't open. She yanked again. Locked. She tried the other door. Locked. Central lock. From the driver's seat. Panic tore through her chest. "Open it!" she demanded, voice cracking. "Open the door right now!" She slapped the window and twisted in her seat, looking for anyone who might see her. But the corner they'd pulled into was dead. She offered money, jewelry, the wallet, anything, just to get out. Mr. Harris didn't move. His hands clamped the steering wheel so hard his knuckles went white. He stared into the darkness to the left of the car as if he could see something Maya couldn't. Then, finally, he spoke. Low, controlled. "Do not get out here," he said. "Trust me." "How could I trust you?" Maya sobbed, trembling so hard her teeth rattled. Mr. Harris's voice didn't soften, but it steadied, like a man forcing himself to stay calm in a storm. "You'll know in 5 minutes," he said. "And those 5 minutes are the difference between you walking into that terminal or never walking anywhere again." Maya went still, fear turning her limbs to stone. She watched the dashboard clock tick forward, each second stretching like a punishment. 1 minute, 2, 3. Mr. Harris scanned the windshield and side mirrors like a sentry. Maya held her breath and waited for whatever nightmare he'd seen coming. At exactly 5 minutes, the silence shattered. Police vehicles came from both directions, 3 of them, sirens screaming, lights strobing red and blue across the dark curb. They boxed the sedan in. Maya's first thought was pure relief. They're here for him. They'll save me. Officers poured out wearing vests, moving fast, weapons raised. Maya ducked instinctively, heart pounding so hard it hurt. She heard shouted commands, "Down! Hands where we can see them!" and braced for gunfire. But the officers didn't aim at Mr. Harris's car. They ran past it, straight toward the concrete pillar where the shadows pooled. Someone was there. A man in a black jacket and cap, half hidden in the darkness, tried to bolt. He didn't get far. Officers tackled him hard, pinned him, and snapped cuffs onto his wrists. As he struggled, something fell from his pocket. A folding knife and a cloth that looked damp. One officer lifted the cloth with gloved fingers and sealed it in an evidence bag. Even from inside the car, Maya caught a faint chemical sting in the air, sharp and wrong. Then an officer walked to the driver's window and tapped twice. Mr. Harris lowered the glass. The officer nodded at him, not suspicious, not aggressive, more like respectful. "Target secured," the officer said. "You were right." Mr. Harris exhaled like he'd been holding his breath for an hour. Only then did he unlock the doors. The click of the lock sounded to Maya like a miracle. She sat there shaking, stunned by the sudden reversal. What is happening?" she whispered. "Why aren't they arresting you?" Mr. Harris turned fully in his seat to face her. Under the harsh flash of police lights, his expression softened into something almost gentle. "My name is Harris," he said, "and I'm not just a rideshare driver." He told her he'd once been head of security for her late father, back when her father was alive, powerful and paranoid for a reason. Before he died, he'd made Harris promise to watch Maya from a distance. Quietly, constantly. "Your father worried people would come for you because of what you inherited," Harris said. "Tonight, someone did." The man under arrest, Harris explained, had been hired to abduct Maya. The damp cloth wasn't a towel. It was meant to be pressed to her face the moment she stepped out, saturated with something strong enough to drop her fast. Maya covered her mouth, nausea rising. She could see it now. The empty curb, the broken lights, the pillar for cover. She would have stepped right into his hands. "Who would do this?" she choked. Harris didn't answer with words. He lifted his hand and pointed toward the glass-walled second level of the terminal. International departures, not domestic. Maya followed his finger and felt her world split. There, behind the bright glass, stood Ethan, not searching frantically, not worried, watching. His face was twisted in anger, not fear. And beside him stood Brooke, Maya's closest friend, the woman she had trusted with secrets and late-night laughs, her sister in everything but blood. Brooke's hand rested on Ethan's arm, intimate, possessive. 2 large suitcases sat at their feet, vacation luggage, not a work trip. Ethan's arm circled Brooke's waist like it belonged there. They looked down at the police lights with hatred, like their plan had been stolen from them. Maya's throat tightened until she could barely breathe. The forgotten wallet wasn't a mistake. It was bait. Harris drove before Maya could collapse. He guided the sedan back toward the highway, away from the airport's glare and the lie her marriage had become. "Open the wallet," he said quietly. "Really open it." Maya's hands shook as she pulled out the cash. A folded paper slipped free, an international one-way ticket with Ethan's name and Brooks. Behind it was another document that made Maya's blood run cold. A newly approved life insurance policy in her name, worth millions, with Ethan listed as the sole beneficiary. Suddenly, everything made a horrifying sense. Ethan hadn't needed that wallet. He'd kept his passport and ticket elsewhere. The wallet was left behind so Maya would come running into the night and disappear. Maya didn't cry anymore on the drive home. The tears dried into a hot ache, replaced by something sharper, a calm, terrible anger. Harris told her the most important truth of all. Ethan didn't know she'd seen him. To Ethan, tonight's failure would look like bad luck, a random police sting. That ignorance was Maya's advantage. "Go home," Harris said. "Act like nothing happened, and we take him apart from the inside, slowly, with proof." Maya wiped her face, straightened her headscarf, and practiced the kind of soft smile she used to give Ethan without thinking. Tonight, the old Maya died in that dark curb lane. The new one was awake. Before dropping her off, Harris handed her a tiny device the size of a button. "Audio tracker," he said. "Put it somewhere he uses constantly, somewhere he won't notice." Maya hid it in her palm and slipped into her house like a burglar returning to a crime scene. Inside, everything looked the same, yet nothing felt safe. The lavender air freshener that used to soothe her now made her stomach turn. She washed her face with cold water until her eyes looked normal. Then she staged the house like a set. She tucked Ethan's wallet halfway into the couch cushion seam, visible enough to be found, and sat on the sofa with a magazine, the TV murmuring low, as if she dozed off waiting for him. At around 3 a.m., Ethan burst through the door, breathing hard, sweaty, tie loosened. He called her name too loudly, as if volume could replace sincerity. Maya jolted, awake, blinking and yawning, playing confused. "You're back already?" she asked. "Wasn't your flight?" Ethan launched into a story he'd clearly rehearsed. He realized his wallet was missing on the way to the airport, had to turn around, got stuck in terrible traffic from an accident. Maya nodded sympathetically, swallowing her disgust. Then she pointed casually at the couch. "Maybe it fell there when you were putting on your shoes." Ethan saw the wallet and froze for half a beat, relief and confusion colliding on his face. He grabbed it, checked the contents, and hugged her tightly, thanking her over and over. In that embrace, Maya caught it, a faint perfume that didn't belong to her. Brooks. Maya forced herself not to flinch. She told Ethan to shower and rest, soothing him like the devoted wife he thought he still had. While the water ran upstairs, she moved fast. Ethan's leather workbag sat on the dresser, his prized possession, a gift she'd once given him with love. Maya unzipped an inner pocket and tucked Harris's device deep inside, pressing it into the lining so it wouldn't shift. Ethan stepped out in a towel, kissed her forehead, and never noticed. They slept in the same bed that night, but only one of them slept like a man who believed he'd gotten away with murder. By morning, Maya ran on adrenaline and acting. She made coffee, toasted bread, smiled at Ethan across the kitchen like she wasn't carrying evidence in her head. Ethan praised her. Best wife in the world. And the words turned her stomach. After he left for work, Maya hurried to her room, put in her earbuds, and opened the app connected to the tracker. She heard his car, the radio, then the dial tone. Ethan was calling someone. A woman answered, Brooke. Their voices weren't romantic, just frantic and furious. Ethan raged about the police and screamed that he needed money immediately. He admitted it, a massive online gambling debt around $250,000, due within 24 hours, with collectors threatening to show up at his office and home. Brooke's voice was sharper, colder. She reminded him about a backup plan, a safe in Maya's late father's old property, rumored to hold gold and land documents. The problem was the combination. Only Maya would know it. Brooke urged Ethan to charm it out of her, to fish for meaningful dates, anything. Ethan agreed, saying he'd come home early with a gift to soften her up. Maya ended the audio and called Harris with hands that no longer shook. Within the hour, Harris picked her up. They moved fast. Bank, attorney, notary. Maya quietly transferred most shared funds into a new account Ethan couldn't access and froze any credit lines he could use, citing security concerns after the lost wallet incident. That evening, Ethan walked in carrying a huge bouquet of red roses and a small pharmacy bag. Maya met him at the door with delighted surprise she didn't feel. He kissed her cheek, handed her the bag, and told her he'd bought the best imported vitamins because she looked tired. His eyes lingered on her face too long, waiting. Maya checked the bottle later and saw it. The seal looked resealed, messy. One capsule had faint white residue on the outside. At dinner, Ethan insisted she take one in front of him. Maya pretended to fetch water, dumped the capsule down the sink drain, and replaced it with a mint candy of a similar shape. She swallowed it at the table. Ethan's smile looked satisfied in a way that made her skin crawl. Over the next 3 days, Ethan's frustration grew. He wanted Maya weak, sick, pliable, someone he could pressure into opening safes and signing papers. Instead, she played the opposite, energetic, cheerful, healthy, doing light workouts in the yard, cooking clean meals, acting like nothing in the world was wrong. The more stable she looked, the more desperate he became. Maya knew desperation makes people sloppy, so she set a trap that would force Ethan and Brooke into the same room where she could watch them panic. She called Ethan at work, bright and sweet, and said she wanted to host a special dinner to celebrate how lucky they were. Wallet found, stress survived. Then she added casually, "And I miss Brooke. Let's invite her." There was a pause on the line, long enough for Maya to imagine Ethan's brain calculating risks. Inviting his mistress into his wife's home was insane, but it was also an opportunity. Ethan agreed, forcing enthusiasm. That night, Maya set the table like a magazine spread. Candles, the good china, steak, a perfect home. She wore an elegant, modest dress, understated but commanding. Brooke arrived in a tight outfit and a bright smile, hugging Maya with syrupy affection. At the table, Ethan and Brooke exchanged quick glances, code passing between them. Maya acted oblivious, pouring drinks, serving food, playing the gracious host. Halfway through dinner, Maya set her fork down and said she'd had a strange dream. Ethan asked, mouthful, "What kind?" Maya smiled faintly and described it with unnerving precision. A wealthy woman, a handsome husband, a best friend, who secretly planned to kill her for inheritance money. She mentioned an airport curb, a drug-soaked cloth, a vitamin gift. Brooke's fork clinked against her plate. Ethan choked, coughing hard, face red. Maya watched their fear bloom, then laughed lightly like she'd told a silly ghost story. "It's ridiculous," she said. "You'd never do something like that. Brooke would never do something like that." Then she delivered the real blow, gentle as velvet and just as suffocating. She said the dream had made her think about how unpredictable life was, so she'd visited her attorney that afternoon. Ethan sat up, eyes flashing with hope, mistaking her words for surrender. Maya continued, calm and sincere. If she died suddenly or under suspicious circumstances before age 60, every asset in her name, home, investments, company shares, even the contents of her father's safe, would automatically go to charities and children's foundations. Not a dollar would go to a spouse or family, she added sweetly. "You're a capable man, Ethan. You don't need my inheritance." Silence swallowed the room. Ethan looked like his blood had been drained. Brooke's mouth fell open. After Brooke left Maya's house, she and Ethan didn't go back to their separate homes. They met at Brooke's apartment, their usual love nest turned war room. Ethan's phone blew up with threatening messages and unknown numbers. Panic snapped whatever restraint he had left. If they couldn't profit from Maya's death anymore, they needed to control Maya while she was alive. Ethan decided on force. He would hire muscle, invade the house, restrain Maya, and coerce new signatures. Anything to undo the will and unlock whatever money was left. The next day, he lied about an audit and met 3 men at a grimy coffee shop, promising cash once he got access to Maya's assets. That evening, a rented van with dark windows rolled toward Maya's house, Ethan at the wheel, Brooke beside him, the hired men in the back. The porch light was off. Maya's car sat in the garage. The house looked asleep. Ethan used a spare key and slipped them inside like burglars. The men fanned out, checking rooms, opening doors. Ethan and Brooke ran upstairs ready to corner Maya in the bedroom. But the room was empty, the bed neatly made. No sign of her anywhere. No movement, no voice. Panic hit Ethan like a punch. How could she be gone without her car? He stormed downstairs, furious, kicking a decorative table until a vase shattered. Then, in the sudden quiet after the crash, a laptop on the coffee table flickered awake by itself. A video call window filled the screen. Maya's face appeared, calm, pale, eyes steady, seated in a room Ethan didn't recognize. She greeted Ethan, greeted Brooke, and even greeted their uninvited guests, proving she knew exactly who was in her house. Ethan lunged toward the screen, shouting demands. Maya didn't flinch. She pointed to a small live icon at the top of the call, along with a viewer count climbing. Cameras hidden throughout the house were streaming their break-in. Maya said one button would send the feed to her attorney and the police. Ethan went white. He realized he was trapped inside a crime he couldn't erase. Still, Maya hadn't pressed the emergency button. She was giving him enough rope to tie his own knot. Ethan broke. He confessed, begging now, admitting the gambling debt, the threats, the desperation. Brooke cried too, tears that looked practiced. Maya listened, then said something that made greed rise in their eyes again. The will was real, she said, and the legal assets were locked. But she still had unlisted liquid wealth from her father, gold and foreign cash stored in a place no will could touch. Enough to clear Ethan's debt and leave extra for Brooke's dream life. Ethan's posture changed instantly. Brooke leaned closer to the screen. Hunger replaced fear. Maya gave them a location, an abandoned textile warehouse her father once owned on the edge of an old industrial district. The stash was supposedly buried beneath the concrete in the back room, under the base of an old machine labeled number 7. She even gave a code, their wedding date reversed. Ethan slammed the laptop shut and ordered the hired men into the van. He drove like a man possessed, running red lights, cutting lanes, chasing imaginary stacks of gold. Brooke clutched her phone with directions, eyes bright with fantasy. Neither of them noticed the unmarked black sedan following at a careful distance. Harris at the wheel, Maya beside him, tracking Ethan's car through a GPS tag and watching the plan unfold exactly as intended. When Ethan's van reached the warehouse, the place looked like a grave. Rusted gate, peeling walls, weeds swallowing the lot. They broke in, coughing at the stench of dust and rodents, flashlights carving long shadows across empty space. They found the hulking, rusted machine, number 7, and started hammering the floor with crowbars and sledgehammers. Concrete cracked, sweat poured. Ethan dug with shaking hands, impatience turning him feral. After nearly an hour, a shovel hit metal with a sharp clang. They hauled up a heavy safe, caked in mud. Ethan wiped the dial, fingers trembling, and spun the combination, wedding date reversed. The lock clicked open. His eyes met Brooke's in triumph. The hired men leaned in, ready to claim their cut. Ethan yanked the lid, and the world stopped. No gold, no cash, no diamonds. Inside the safe was paper, folders, printouts, photos. Ethan tore through them in disbelief and found the truth arranged like a courtroom exhibit. Copies of his gambling debts, records of transfers to Brooke over 2 years, photos of them together, hotel check-ins, intimate dinners, and a grainy airport shot of Ethan with Brooke the night Maya almost stepped into the dark. On top sat a white envelope with neat handwriting, a gift for the betrayers. Ethan opened it and read the message with sinking horror. The treasure wasn't here, only evidence, and the police were already on the way. Floodlights erupted outside the warehouse, bleaching the windows with white glare. Sirens screamed, many more than at the airport. A megaphone boomed, "Police! This building is surrounded! Don't move!" Ethan's knees buckled. Brooke shrieked and started hitting him, screaming that he'd ruined everything. The hired men tried to run, only to be met by officers bursting in from side doors, weapons drawn, moving fast and sure. In the chaos, Ethan and Brooke turned on each other, hurling blame like knives. Their love collapsed into raw survival. Then the shouting dipped into sudden silence as the officers parted and someone stepped in. Maya walked into the warehouse with controlled grace, coat buttoned, face clean, eyes ice calm. Harris followed close behind, steady as a shadow. Ethan stared at her like he was seeing a ghost. He crawled forward, grabbing for her, begging, crying that Brooke manipulated him, that he made mistakes, that he loved Maya. Brooke sobbed too, pleading, calling it a misunderstanding. Maya stepped back as if their hands carried disease. Her voice was quiet, but it cut through the sirens in everyone's mind. She reminded Ethan of the airport night, how she didn't report him then, hoping he'd show even a flicker of conscience. Instead, he offered her poison and brought criminals into her home. Maya raised her phone and turned the screen outward. A live chat scrolled so fast it blurred. Hundreds, then thousands of comments flooding in. Their break-in, their begging, their fight, their confessions. Everything had been streamed. Not just to a private server, to the public. Colleagues, neighbors, mutual friends. Everyone could see what Ethan and Brooke truly were. The social mask they wore had shattered in real time. A senior officer approached Maya for permission to remove the suspects. Maya nodded once. Officers yanked Ethan and Brooke to their feet and led them out. Ethan didn't resist. Brooke screamed for a lawyer, but her words died inside the closing door of a police van. 6 months later, Maya's life looked nothing like the night she carried a wallet into danger. With the recordings, documents, and financial trails Harris helped preserve, the case moved fast. Ethan faced multiple charges: attempted kidnapping and murder for hire, fraud, identity fraud, conspiracy. Brooke, too. The sentences were harsh. The rest of the world moved on, but Maya didn't rebuild by pretending it never happened. She rebuilt by taking control. She renovated her home until it felt like hers again. New paint, new furniture, no ghosts of Ethan's choices. She took full leadership of the company her father left her, installing stronger security and cleaning out anyone tied to Ethan's schemes. The woman who once played supporting actress in her own life became the lead. On a bright morning, Maya returned to the airport, this time in daylight, not fear. She stepped out at the VIP drop-off with a small suitcase and sunglasses, steady and unhurried. Harris, still in her orbit, carried her bag like family, not staff. Maya paused near the same concrete pillars where her life had nearly ended and let the memory flicker without consuming her. It didn't hurt the same now. It was a scar, not an open wound. Harris asked, "Ready?" Maya nodded. She was heading on a long-awaited pilgrimage, something sacred for her, grounding, and then a much-needed trip to Istanbul to breathe, to live, to remember she was more than survival. She walked into the terminal with her head high, leaving the past behind like a closed door. And if you made it this far, drop a comment. What would you have done in Maya's place?